We want to operate in the world in a way that makes us feel good about who we are, makes us feel capable, strong, and allows us to have a genuine respect for ourselves. When you have a growth mindset, you start to get self-esteem when you're growing. Hi everybody, it's me, Mark Matthews, psychologist and your certified high performance coach. Today we're going to talk about cultivating a growth mindset. A growth mindset is simply a way of thinking where you prioritize looking at the process or ways that you can improve or ways that you can learn, as opposed to prioritizing looking good while you do a task or doing perfect at a task or getting the best, outcome that you could possibly get in any given moment. So to start, what is a mindset? It's a pretty popular buzzword. People often talk about mindsets. They talk about mindset coaching. There's a lot of people who offer those types of services. And all that they really mean is that a mindset is a system of thinking. It's an orientation you take towards processing the information in front of you. And so a growth mindset is a system of thinking that prioritizes looking at how you can grow in a given situation. How can you get better? What can you learn? It's often contrasted with a fixed mindset, or what I like to call a performative mindset, which is characterized by trying to appear as good as you possibly can, trying to look like the best, or look great at what you're doing, or just trying to do amazing, but without a regard for learning, just for performance itself. This is one of the most important topics that's been discovered over the last 30 years now in psychology. Because what we found out is that when people adopt a growth mindset, they're more likely to take on tasks that will allow them to improve. They're more likely to improve on tasks that are challenging. And they're more likely to have a better experience while they're doing it. On the contrary, though, when people are endorsing a fixed mindset, they tend to actually have a lot of anxiety if they start to, get challenged or not do so well. They tend to be so focused on how well they're doing that they're not actually opening their minds up for learning. They're just kind of demonstrating what they already know. And so a fixed mindset can really inhibit your ability to grow and learn. So as you can see, the growth mindset and the fixed mindset, they both have their pros and cons. With a growth mindset, what ends up happening is you end up feeling better when you're in challenging environments. But you might also get a little bit bored if there's environments where you're not being pushed or there's not as many opportunities for you to learn. People with a growth mindset aren't interested in just showing, I'm smart, I'm great at whatever tasks in front of them. They're interested in actually growing in the process itself. This is a great orientation to have if you're trying to improve yourself. It's an amazing orientation to have if you actually want to go out and meaningfully progress on a path that makes you feel connected to life. The fixed mindset, though, you get a lot of benefit when you do really well at something. And so this is the type of person who, they always play the same game that they're good at, but they stay away from the ones that they haven't developed a skill at yet. This is a person who, loves their subject in school, or they love their tasks at work that they've mastered and they think they're really good at, but they shy away from growing themselves in other areas because they wouldn't be doing well and then they would feel bad about themselves. Now, the important thing to understand about these mindsets is that they actually create different systems for how you build your self-esteem. We usually have a motivation to feel pretty good about ourselves. We want to operate in the world in a way that makes us feel good about who we are, makes us feel capable, strong, and allows us to have a genuine respect for ourselves. When you have a growth mindset, you start to get self-esteem when you're growing, when you're learning. When you're facing challenges and trying your best along the way to get better, you cultivate self-esteem. On the contrary, when you face challenges with a fixed mindset, now it's threatening because you're prioritizing doing well. And so you're so focused on having a good outcome that if there's any threat that you might not have a good outcome, or you might not appear to be doing well at the task, you're more likely to start questioning yourself, take a hit to your self-esteem. Oftentimes it leads to you disengaging from the task. Now, the question is, why would people have a fixed mindset in the first place? If what it means to be human in many ways is about growth and contribution and actualizing our potential, it seems like the growth mindset would be the obvious one to adopt. The thing is when you're initially praised for areas that you're more naturally good at or where you got quick wins, your self-esteem can really quickly get tied to doing well in that area. So you start performing to get that self-esteem benefit. And that's what makes the fixed mindset addictive. And for a lot of us, it's not our fault, it was just taught to us to cultivate a fixed mindset. People were praising us, our teachers were praising us, our parents were praising us, trying to hype us up, make us feel good. But what happened is we were taught that we're good if we're doing good, not necessarily if we're learning. And what's happened, especially over the last decade, is that researchers have learned that, oh my gosh, this growth mindset is way better for the development of a person. And so today I'm going to teach you how you actually cultivate that growth mindset if there's areas where you've been leaning into the fixed mindset. I'm going to give you the tools necessary to make sure that you don't only just cultivate the growth mindset, but you strengthen it and you learn how to activate it over and over and over again so it becomes your natural mode of thinking as opposed to a fixed mindset. Now, the benefit of you being able to activate this growth mindset is that you can actually take on hard things. My favorite part of having a growth mindset is that it allows you to become a much more resilient person. Yes, it's true. You might not get those huge self-esteem boosts all the time that you were getting from that fixed mindset where you really show up in the areas that matter most to you. Instead, what's probably going to happen is you're going to quiet your ego a little bit more and you're going to get really excited about learning. You're going to fall in love with the process of actually becoming a better person, of actually developing, which is much more substantive, and honestly, it's better for all the people around you too. Instead of being the person who shows up and they're amazing at the game at the party or whatever, and everybody's like, wow, you're really great. You might show up to the party and you'll be like, ah, man, this is a fun game. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And people can really vibe with that. Because when you are demonstrating a growth mindset, a lot of times that radiates out to the people around you. And so they feel less pressure, like they don't have to be perfect anymore. They don't have to be amazing at whatever they're doing. They can just enjoy the process of getting better at something or just being in the moment and doing something rather than having to be amazing at it. That eases tension in social situations and in learning environments. It allows people to be more open so they can make insights and discoveries. When we create a growth mindset oriented community, that's where people are able to flourish at their best. They're able to not only learn more and progress much more quickly, but they're also able to have a lot more fun doing it. And it's important that they have fun while they're growing and learning, because when you have a positive experience with something, you want to do more of it. And so the growth mindset allows for a positive feedback loop where you encounter something, you face a challenge, the challenge becomes a little bit exciting, you actually want to engage with it. As you make progress with the challenge, you start to feel good because you're gaining competency and you want to do it even more. And so you become a better person much faster. You have a good time doing it. Okay, great. So I hope I've shown you now that there's some real benefits to cultivating a growth mindset. There's a huge literature on the power of cultivating this mindset. And if you really want to go on a deep dive, I highly suggest you read one of my favorite books, Mindset, by Carol Dweck, that lays out decades worth of research on the growth mindset and all the benefits that it has in several areas of life. I'll go ahead and put a link to that book in the description. I personally read that book every single year. Now, the reason I read that book every single year is because all mindsets have to actively be worked on. We have to strengthen our mindset. And so if you're familiar at all with the psychology literature, there's been a big debate lately about the power of mindset interventions. Researchers have been finding ways to help people cultivate a growth mindset, usually students, maybe people within companies, and they've been giving them interventions, just like watching a YouTube video like this, to cultivate the growth mindset. The problem is that those interventions only work when you not only endorse a growth mindset, but you're also certain of it. You see, for every mindset you have, every belief you have, every thought you have, there's also a level of certainty that you have about whether that thought is accurate, correct, and the right thought to be having. This is known as metacognition. Metacognition is just the way you think about your thoughts. The benefit, though, of understanding this is that you can recognize that cultivating a growth mindset is an active endeavor. I've personally been working on cultivating my growth mindset ever since I first came into contact with this material back when I was in my first degree of psychology. And I fell in love with the process of learning to cultivate that growth mindset. I took a growth mindset towards cultivating a growth mindset. And honestly, that's what it took. Because I found that it was easy to cultivate a growth mindset in areas where I haven't really done much. I haven't really spent a lot of time. But in areas where I'd already been really good at something, it was really hard to break the fixed mindset. For instance, in basketball, a sport that I love, I've always been pretty good at shooting. And so whenever I go play basketball, I could feel my ego coming out when I was shooting the ball. I was so excited about hitting shots. And when I was off or I was missing a lot of shots, it really hurt me. I really felt less than. In fact, I remember one time I was out shooting by myself, and every time I would miss a shot, I would start simulating thoughts of how I'm unworthy and how I don't know why anybody in my life would, want to be my friend or my girlfriend at the time, whether she would be my girlfriend. It was a really dark moment. But it was crazy because I had linked my self-esteem to the basketball shot, and every shot I missed made me feel worse about myself. And it's okay if that's happening to you because it's just something that you learned. Maybe you've always been pretty good at drawing, and now when you're drawing and it doesn't look good to you, you feel unworthy because you were told, hey, you're a great drawer. Now you're not drawing well. Turns into you're not a great person. That's the fixed mindset. With a growth mindset, it's okay if I miss shots. Now when I step up and I'm shooting and I'm having an off day, I start to get curious about why my shot's off. I start to look for ways to approach things differently. I start to relax more. Just focus on enjoying the game. Enjoying dribbling the ball. And it's funny because by doing that, my shot often gets a lot better. And I'll tell you, I don't get as big of an ego boost every time I hit a shot now. But I have a lot more fun playing basketball. And that's the power of cultivating this growth mindset. If I've sold you now on cultivating this growth mindset, buy a book on it. Watch this video again. Find other videos. I'll actually link a playlist of all the growth mindset videos that I've seen, and we'll just dive in because there's a lot of great information on this, a lot of different angles to think about it. And that's how you cultivate a strong belief, a strong mindset. But I want to give you something practical that you can do right now. If you haven't heard about this, this is a pivotal way to change the way you think. The way you change the way you think is to change the words you use. You see, we signal to ourselves what we think by the language that we use. And so one of the most powerful ways to help people cultivate a growth mindset is to change the way that they praise themselves or praise other people. For instance, when I teach psychology, I don't tell people, oh my gosh, that's one of the most amazing papers I've ever seen. You're just an amazing writer. I often say, wow, I really enjoyed reading this paper. I can tell that you put extra effort into this part of the paper. I can tell that you actually took the time to connect what we talked about in class to this assignment. See, I praise the effort put in. And when you praise effort, when you focus yourself on effort, that's how you start to steer yourself towards a growth mindset. But if you walk around and you're saying, I'm great, I wrote this amazing paper, I'm really good at X, Y, or Z thing, that's where you steer yourself back to that fixed mindset and recognize it's alluring because it feels good to feel great. So if there's one thing I could convince you of in terms of helping you cultivate a growth mindset, it's that growth is better than greatness. And the reason why that is true is because long-term greatness comes from a life that prioritizes growth. Let's be honest. It's not amazing to be amazing. It's amazing to be a person who lives their life in a way that if we all role model that, more people would become amazing. It's about becoming the type of person who is inspiring, who other people can look at and role model and get something better out of their lives if they do so. If you're here just thinking, I want to be the best, it's like, that's normal. That's a reasonable motivation. But I'm going to challenge you to take it a step up. I'm going to be the best role model. You're going to have better outcomes anyway if you go that way. You're going to do better if you prioritize growth, especially over the long term. I'm going to challenge you. I'm a coach. That's what I do. I challenge you to adopt that role model mindset. And in doing so, prioritize the growth mindset. When I think about the growth mindset, I often think of one of my favorite song lyrics. It's by an artist, Macklemore, and the song's called 10,000 Hours. And the lyric is, the greats weren't great because at birth they could paint. The greats were great because they paint a lot. And the idea there is that it's about the process. It's about the effort put into something that makes you a great person. I think that's an amazing lesson, and I really want to encourage you to sit with it. All right, guys. The call to arms here is to cultivate a growth mindset, strengthen that growth mindset, and focus on the language you use. Start praising your process, not your performance. Recognizing that if you praise the process, you're going to get better anyway. You're going to perform better anyway. As always, I love you guys. It's my pleasure to serve you. If you have any questions about the growth mindset or additional insights that you've learned about the growth mindset, please drop them down below. I'd love to see a conversation about cultivating this growth mindset. I'd love to see support for one another as we go to do this. And obviously, if you like this video, hit that like button for us. Go ahead and share this video with anybody who you know who might be interested in just personal development or cultivating the growth mindset. And definitely subscribe to this channel if you're interested in being a part of this growth-oriented community. Thank you so much. Can't wait to see you again soon.